This is another portion of a long cart crash that I did some time ago. If you remember back in my very first cart crash, I had asked a JW couple who was their mediator. They said it was Jesus, and I tried to explain how the Watchtower says that's not the case. So he said he would look into it more. So when I saw him this time, I asked him if he had looked into it. I don't normally recommend pressing the point because the goal is not to get them in defense of the org, but instead to really start thinking about the ways that the Watchtower contradicts the Bible. So if I had it to do again, I probably wouldn't have brought it up with that particular Jehovah's Witness again. Though it did give me the opportunity to discuss this with the other two Jehovah's Witnesses who were there with him at this time. He and another JW man responded, and we had some interesting discussion. You can also hear some responses from the very chatty Jehovah's Witness lady who was there that day as well. I've tried to clean up the sound as much as possible, but it was a very windy day and both men are quite soft-spoken, so it may be hard to hear them in places. In fact, one of the men continued the conversation with me a little later on, and we got into some really interesting discussion about the Trinitarian formula in Matthew 28 and a few other things about Jesus being the only mediator. Sadly, the wind was really kicking up, so it's very hard to hear most of what he said at that point. I will try to clean up that section more, but I'm not sure if it will be good enough to post in the future. I think you can hear most of this part of the conversation pretty clearly, though.
I was actually, before I forget, we talked about who is your mediator last time. Did you look that up?
Yes, I had a talk with somebody. I forgot the questions. I gotta go through it.
So mediator is someone.
It's like the role of the priest, right? Where he intercedes. He
mediates between the two, right?
Well, in a strictly court sense, yes, but in the biblical sense, the mediator is the priestly role, right? It's
Are you talking about Jesus?
Yeah. Well, that's what the Bible says in 1 Timothy, right?
Yeah.
And so I
so
thought
you're asking who our mediator is?
Yeah.
No,
Jesus?
No, not according to the Watchtower. That's why, and I understand and I agree that it should be that he is. That it says there's one mediator, right, between God and man. There isn't like a secondary.
So what Watchtower says otherwise?
Actually, those papers I gave you, I wrote it down on there because I didn't have it available. But there's you can look it up on the online library, and you can see it.
What year?
It didn't say on the page. I'm sure you could look it up.
One of the Watchtower said that Jesus is the mediator of the United One only.
Yes. Yeah.
Only.
Oh, we might be going back. If you're going back 50 years.
Oh, no. I mean, like, not far back at all. And I haven't seen anything else that has said that changed. So that's what I was asking.
It's an interesting thing, because you've got, I guess in your belief, every's going to heaven, right?
No, not at all.
Okay,
no, I'm not a universalist. No, that's fine. I'm not offended. That's fine. That's a good question to ask.
Yeah.
Kurt gave me the answer, either Kurt or Murray, and I forgot. I didn't write it down. I will write it down. I got it.
Yeah, I'll look it up because I think that's an important thing. I mean, the Bible says Jesus is the only mediator. So I did ask a witness before about that, and
so what are you getting at?
Oh, well, she
I
said
guess that's the question.
Well, the first time I talked to her about it, she said that Jesus is her mediator, and she was adamant about that. And then the next time I talked to her, she had looked it up, and she said, oh, no, he's not. He's only the mediator for the 144,000. That's what it says on the website. And I didn't tell her where to look. She's a good researcher. And then she said, oh, no, that's because the mediator is only about the new covenant. It's not about anything else, so that's fine.
Oh, I see.
So then the 144,000 are kind of co-mediators or under-mediators or something like that. She was kind of getting at it that way. So it's like, well, I don't know. That doesn't sound biblical to me, but...
Well, you know what? Jesus' apostles, the 12 apostles, the saints, the holy ones, definitely play a very important role.
Isn't it interesting how she went right from saying Jesus is her mediator to defending the Watchtower's teaching that Jesus is only the mediator for the 144,000? She starts off by comparing the 144,000 to the apostles, trying to raise them up to a level where they could be co-mediators or something like that. Next, she will call them ambassadors, and we ended up going down a bit of a rabbit trail. with how she was trying to use the word. Unfortunately, I don't think anything specific was accomplished with this part of the discussion, but I do pray that it gave her something to think about on her own.
All throughout history, right from Jesus' time, right after Jesus'
Well, he
death,
certainly used them, yeah.
He commissioned those who are in that covenant with him to go and preach the good news of the kingdom, make disciples, baptize them in the name of the Father and the Son
and the Holy Spirit, yeah.
And the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
So, they definitely play a role.
But not as a mediator. They as evangelists, as sharing the gospel, for sure.
Yeah.
But the Bible doesn't say that. The Bible says Jesus is the only mediator.
The Bible says that those ones are ambassadors, substituting for Christ, right?
Where does it say? I've never read that. Yeah, I'd love to.
What's your preferred Bible translation?
I like the New American Standard, but you can use yours. That's fine.
It says, therefore, 2 Corinthians 5. Therefore, we are ambassadors, substituting for Christ, as though God were making an appeal through us. As substitutes for Christ, we beg, come reconcile to God.
This is yet another paraphrase addition to the New World Translation, which she is using to try and make it sound like the 144,000 are co-mediators. Very sneaky. But that word substitute is not in the Greek. The Watchtower added it twice into that verse to make it fit their teaching. You can probably tell I was not even aware of that particular addition, so wasn't prepared for that argument. A little later on, she gets into what I call their sales mode, talking right over me to promote the organization, even suggesting that it's really Christian churches who claim to be the mediator, which is completely ridiculous, of course. She also goes as far as to say that she can and has even questioned the organization for saying things that contradict the Bible. Now, maybe she did and got in trouble for some time, maybe even disfellowshipped and then had to go through the long process of suffering their chastisement and shunning until they finally accepted her back. But that's not something most people in the organization would boast about. So more likely she's using some theocratic warfare at that point. It's a little hard to hear, but I asked her how long she had been in the organization, and she wouldn't answer. The look on her face made it seem like I just asked her what her dress size was or how old she is or something. I've never had that happen before. Normally, Jehovah's Witnesses are happy to share that information and give a bit of their history with the organization. I've said it before, I actually really like this lady, and I hope that we can talk again sometime. There's something about her spunk and determination that draws me to her and makes me want to get into deeper conversation with her. And I think it might be more useful if it were just mainly the two of us talking, because that would help us focus on one thing at a time. Maybe one day.
So, okay, what does it say in the King James? Do you have the King James right here?
I think I'm going to found something. This is sort of the insight book, but you'll get this online too.
Okay.
It says, though they are still in imperfect flesh, which tends towards sin, sanctified ones can be successful in warning of the danger of losing one's sanctification. Paul reminds the sanctified ones that it was the blood of the new covenant by which they were sanctified. As mediator of the new covenant, Christ assists them to carry out the terms of the covenant, their obedience and clean behavior, so that they can keep sanctification. As mediator and high priest, Christ is able also to love completely those who are approaching God through him. But if they return to practice of sin, there is not a second sacrifice, only expectation of judgment and destruction. So that's really, he's a mediator between us.
But that's talking about the anointed class, right?
approaching, like, I don't know if this, like, okay, so he is able to save completely those who are approaching God through him.
Right.
So that's like all of us.
But that doesn't really address the issue of who he's the mediator for. I actually do agree with that you have to
when we approach Jehovah, we're praying through Jesus.
Right.
We put in Jesus' name.
Yeah, because you just said, like, if you don't have the mediator, then you'd have to go to Jehovah directly, and that's not possible, right? We have to go through Christ.
Right. So I don't know if that...
There's a role that the anointed play that is special.
Did you find the King James?
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
It's the same thing that we're ambassadors there.
Jesus said, I wouldn't go to the Father without showing to me.
Yeah.
So obviously he is the mediator.
Right, I agree. Yeah. Okay, so which one was that?
But I think the question is kind of being asked is God using this organization?
Mm-hmm.
And as it claims, the Watchtower Bible and Tract Study, the Jehovah's Witnesses organization claims that Jehovah is using...
Right, okay, so we are ambassadors for Christ.
This organization to accomplish his will. And of course,
doesn't say that
other Christian denominations are, of course,
mediating, really.
Take exception to that, right?
Yeah, ambassador, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that word. It does sound a little bit different, though, doesn't it? I was going to look up mine, but I think that's... Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, that's actually pretty close. Like, that's not... I know some of King James is, like, very old English, and some of it's easier to understand. So.
Yeah.
But if you guys...
I guess that's it. Who is God using? Is he using everybody who claims to be Christians? Is he using individuals from each religion who claim to be Christians but they're really good?
Yeah, but that's not...
Or is he using one specific organization? I think that's the question that you're kind of...
No, not really. Actually, no, I'm just asking about if Jesus isn't your mediator, then do you look to the governing body to be your mediator to Jesus, or...
Well, if they said they're spouting something that's not in the Bible, obviously it'd be like, okay, there's something wrong here.
Would you? Could you question that?
Absolutely.
Yeah? Okay. Have you ever?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Whenever you think for myself.
Okay, great. How long have you been with the organization? Sorry, that's personal, but...
It is, yeah.
Okay. Well, I would love... I gave you my email there. If you guys can find anything else, because like I said, the stuff that I found and from people I've talked to, they would say Jesus is not the mediator for... You guys call yourselves a great crowd, right? So, if you can find anything, or if maybe they're going to change that soon, I don't know. But
I will address that again. Because,
send me any links on your website if you find anything. Yeah.
So you got the email?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So I can email you what I got.
Yeah. And if you want, I can send you those pages that were cut out too. If you want to see those, because I got pictures of them.
Yeah. Do you have the papers?
Who's going to read it? I think my mom might have this one.
Oh, neat.
Yeah.
Something like that. They look cool on your bookshelf.
That's all the...
It's the publisher's preface for the...
Yeah. And then I think on the last page I put a... and that says a little about how important... The last page is how important it believes that the studies in the scriptures books will be at the end. And yeah.
Okay.
And it does. I listed that page too on your online library that talks about mediators. So because I didn't have that available last time because I just ran into you guys walking by. So I thought I'll write it down first.
So I don't know, the mediator, we are technically going through Jesus to get to Jehovah. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
In that sense, he's a mediator.
But is Jesus using a human organization today, or is he using...
Well, is he using Christians today? You bet. Are there lots of false professing Christians? Yep, there's lots of those too.
At this point, she again pulled the conversation back to the organization and the Watchtower's teaching that they are the only organization on earth that Jehovah is using. So I'll end this video here. And hopefully I'll be able to get some other portions of that recording cleaned up enough to share as well at some point.